guys, welcome back to my channel, Shut Up and Read. Today I am back with yet another reading vlog. This is kind of a spur on the moment reading vlog because I'm basically in the mood right now for a really good fantasy novel. I feel like I have been reading some good fantasies, but I haven't been reading like a really chunky good fantasy novel. And so I have a copy of Priory of the Orange Tree and I really want to read this, so I thought this book would be actually really great to do a reading vlog on. So obviously I will not be reading this book during my commute, so I will only be reading this book at home because can you imagine me carrying this like brick of a book to and from work every single day? That's just ridiculous. So I'm expecting this reading vlog to kind of span over maybe a week, possibly even 2 weeks, depending on how fast I read this book, because like I said, I can't really bring this with me, so it's really just going to be something I read just at home. So I'm back with another update because I am still trudging along with this book. So I read a little bit last night after I updated you guys, read a little bit this morning, but I'm only still on page 30, so honestly really have not made a dent in this. But I've also realized that based on my pacing for this book, I'm basically reading about a page per minute. So there's what, like 850 pages, so about 850 minutes is kind of when I'm expecting for me to finish this book. So we'll see how long that takes, but that's kind of my estimate for now. We'll see, you know, how right I am at the end of the day, because I do have the bookly thing going on, so definitely will have the stats for you guys at the end of this video. But anyways, I'm excited for this book. Nothing has really happened for the most part, so it seems that this book follows 4 different people and 3 of them have been introduced. The 4th one not yet, I believe, because well, it's a little bit vague so far. There's so much stuff going on. There's lots of world building. The dragons have appeared because there are dragons in this book. They have appeared very early on in this book. I'm surprised, to be honest. I thought the dragons would be like really at the end or something like that, but it shows that the dragons are very prominent because they have already appeared and they seem to play a very big role, I believe, in this book. But yes, right now I'm just still struggling with the world building, trying to understand the world in general and trying to figure out who is who really and what are the different conflicts. There seems to be a lot of political unrest in certain places. It also seems to follow that there are 2 different areas, like the east versus the west, and they somehow don't like each other. There's definitely some sort of tension between the 2 areas. I don't know if it's like a continent or just a country called east, country called west. I have no idea so far. It's still very vague. There's a lot of world building going on right now, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. So much stuff is happening. Also, I just like the fact that their dragons have appeared already. I'm just really excited for that fact, to be honest. And something that happened this morning, I read like the last like 5-10 pages this morning and something just clicked to me, and it definitely has made things a little bit more interesting to me, and it definitely made more sense. So that's kind of a day for now because this book is really interesting. I'm gonna read a little bit more before I go to sleep tonight, and we'll see how that goes, possibly tomorrow as well before I go to work. But that's kind of my update. I'm definitely trudging along with this lovely gigantic novel, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely very interesting. It's a little bit slow also in the beginning, but then again, I'm not surprised because I feel that fantasy novels really do need a lot of time for the world to kind of build up. Otherwise, you just get lost in the magical world that Samantha created. So I'm excited. Definitely can't wait to continue with this book. Hey guys, so I wanted to give you guys a really quick update before I head off to work or get ready to go to work. As you can tell, I just took a shower, so yeah. Anyway, let's just give you guys a really quick update. So I just passed the 100-page mark for this book, so I am not doing well with this book at all in terms of my speed, because now it is Friday morning and I started this vlog on Monday, so it's basically been almost an entire week and have not gotten too far in this book. So I think my initial assessment of me reading this book within about 2 weeks is going to be wrong, because it's been 5 days. I read just 100 pages. There is like 850 pages in this book, so we'll see how that goes. But I do want to mention that the reason why I think I'm just reading kind of slow right now is because the book is kind of slow. So there's a lot of world building going on, a lot of, you know, developments, introduction of the characters, trying to figure out like what is going on exactly. And I think that part is really slow, which is why I'm kind of struggling through it right now. Once I get to the part where things start to come together or when things start to happen a little bit more, I think that's when I will pick up my reading speed, because that's why I am very slow with this reading right now. I mean, 100 pages in 5 days is not the greatest. Anyways, but I'm enjoying this book a lot. It's just a little bit slow, I think, but I'm starting to understand the world a little bit more. The dragons are showing up. There's like, so I believe there are dragons, like the good dragons, and then there are worms. They're like the bad dragons essentially. So there's definitely a lot of discrepancies between the good and bad dragons. So that's kind of my understanding of this book right now, but I'm enjoying it. There's definitely a lot of political intrigue in this book as well, because part of this book is set in this kingdom or this country or whatever called Innis, and they seem to be like the Western country, like your typical Western like medieval kind of court going on, where they have a queen and they have like the ladies in waiting and all that stuff, and there seems to be a lot of political intrigue on that end. And then on the other side there is like the east side, and that seems to be very much like your usual like Asia, I guess is what it is, and that's at least my assumption right now, and they seem to have more of that kind of culture, customs and stuff. But that's all I know so far from what I've gathered in this 100 pages. But like I said, the beginning of this book is actually a little bit slow. Still definitely a lot of world building, but at the same time it is like 800 something pages, so I'm not surprised that the world building is taking a little bit longer than normally, because usually it's like 300 or 400 pages, and if it's by 100 pages and the world building is not done, then that's an issue there. But with 800 pages, I'm not even a quarter through the book. I'm literally 1/8 of the book through, like less than 1/8 of the book through. So I think it's okay for now. I'll read it a little bit more and we'll see how that goes, but that's kind of my update right now. But I really wanted to give you guys an update once I got to the 100 pages, and so that way I can kind of tell you what I feel about this book without spoiling anything. And then I'm going to continue reading this book because I still have technically like another 15-20 minutes before I have to leave to go to work, so I might try to read this book a little bit more, or I'll just get ready for work, whatever, and I'll update you guys later. So it is now Sunday afternoon, evening, like 6 o'clock or something. I'm actually in the middle of filming a video right now, but my battery for that camera has decided to die, so I'm waiting for it to charge right now, and I will continue filming that. But during the meantime, I figured I might as well update you guys with my status right now for this chunky ass book. I mean, this book is just so heavy. I feel like I'm doing a lot of workout with this book, because when I read books, I tend to read them kind of like this, you know, like I'm sitting in my bed, I read them like this. So literally I'm working out my biceps, because this book is like 5 pounds. Like, I'm not even kidding, guys. And then I switch arms because it gets too heavy on one arm after a few minutes, and then I have to switch arms. So it's like I'm reading and working at the same time, guys. Best of both worlds. But anyways, I do want to talk about this book a little bit. So I'm currently now on page 187, so I've definitely made more progress, especially considering the fact that I last updated you guys what, like Friday morning or something. I'm enjoying this book a lot more. It's a little bit hard to get into because I feel like it's still a little bit slow. I think that's the biggest issue. Also, one thing I want to point out, that this book is supposed to have a female-female relationship, but I haven't seen it yet. I don't know, maybe it would develop more. I'm suspecting there is some sort of romance going on, but the thing is, I think I'm only suspecting that because I know that this book's supposed to feature a female-female romance. If I didn't know that, it's very, very subtly done. I don't think I would have picked it up, but I'm suspecting it. It's such an inkling there that I might be completely wrong in this regard, but I kind of wish that this romance is a little bit more pronounced already, because it's almost 200 pages in. I haven't gotten to it really where it's a very significant part of it so far. Anyways, that is what it is. So I'm enjoying this book a lot. That's all I can say for now. I really like the cultures between the Western worlds and the Eastern worlds. That I feel like it really derives from our Western world and our Eastern worlds today, in like today's society. I also like the fact that in the Western culture, the way how they view the dragons and stuff, they all call them as worms, whereas for the Eastern side, they actually have different names. So they have dragons that they call for the Eastern dragons, and they're like good dragons and they fight on their side, and then they have the worms, which are like the Western worms, and they breathe fire. I think the other ones, like the Eastern ones, breathe like wind and air, I think is what it is. So I don't know, I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on in this book, and I'm definitely a little bit lost right now because I'm 200 pages in and there's stuff going on, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely slow. So I am going to trudge through this book. I feel like everyone seems to really love it so far, so I'm really hoping it gets better or it starts to pick up a little bit more. I've definitely picked up from the first 100 pages, but not significantly. So I'll continue to read, I'll let you guys know, and we'll see how this goes. Hey guys, so I should probably give you guys another update because it's already Thursday evening, and I think the last time I updated you guys was on Sunday, I want to say. Yeah, I haven't done much reading. I'm currently on page 235, so not doing well at all for this chunky book. I'm not even, like, I literally just passed the quarter mark, and I think the last time I updated you guys I was like 180 something or 190 something like that. Clearly not much has gone by since I've only read like 40 pages since I last updated you guys. I don't know why. I'm just like not really in the mood to read right now. I mean, I'm in the mood to read, don't get me wrong, because I've been reading a lot of my ebooks and my audiobook because somehow those books just fly by really quickly. But for this book, for some whatever reason, I don't know, it's just hard to get into, and I was in the mood for it when I first started it, and now it's been like 2 weeks and I'm just like not as much in the mood for it. I don't know, something's happening. I'm also like feeling a little under the weather, so that definitely is taking a toll on me, because when I'm under the weather I do not want to read. I want to just watch and binge my shows, which is what I've basically been doing, which is why I haven't read that much obviously. So we'll see, guys. I'm gonna try to read a little bit later today, and then we will see, or I will see. But as of right now, that's kind of my update. Really nothing has happened so far. I mean, it's good, but it's slow. That's the biggest issue right now, is that everything just feels so slow, and everything is going by so slow that it's just not capturing my attention as I would like it to. And it's a lot of world building, but it's also like an 800 plus page book, so I get that, but it's slow, guys. It's just really slow right now. Oh, by the way, I still haven't yet figured out where is this like female relationship, because that hasn't happened yet, and if it has, like, I am not aware of that yet. So as of right now, there's really no inkling. I mean, there's a hint, like I feel like there's a hint, but not really. So I don't even know when that's gonna happen, but we'll see, guys. We'll see. So I just finished filming some videos, and I think it's high time for me to give you guys another update on this massive book. So I am now on 317, and at this point it is Saturday. I want to say like sometime around evening. It's like 5 or 6 o'clock already. So basically, well, at least this second week I have read more. I think the first week I ended around 100 pages, and this past week I read about 200 pages, so definitely improved a little bit. But the thing is, this book, it's going, it's just kind of slow, and that's my biggest issue with this book right now. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, as of right now, I'm enjoying the characters, I'm enjoying like the slow development of things, but the thing is, it's very slow. Like, everything just feels so slow. But I will say that the way how Samantha writes is that she's very blunt in her writing, as in she doesn't give flowery description, because I feel like that's a biggest issue that I have sometimes with fantasy novels, or just like very big books in general, where they just overly describe certain things. Like, how many ways can you say the tapestry is blue? You know what I mean? But that's not the way how she writes at all. Like, every sentence is very meaningful. Every sentence has insight for certain aspects to it, like either for the world building or for the characters, etc. So I really have to read every single word very carefully, and because of that, I think that's why this book is just going a little bit slower for me as well, because the plot is also kind of slow, and the way how she writes makes things a little bit slower. Whereas other books, I go by them really quickly, because I mean, if it's a paragraph about how the tapestry is blue, I'm going to skim like the paragraph in like 2 seconds, because there's no need for me to read everything about that. So I think because of that and the comparison, that's why this book I'm reading a little bit slower. But I'm enjoying this book overall. It's very interesting for me to see kind of how this book is unfolding in terms of the dragons, like the history behind where these dragons come from and how they're impacting where they are right now and all that stuff, and the political intrigue as well. So it's very fascinating. It's just really slow, guys. I'm definitely hoping to finish a little bit more this week. It's already Saturday evening, but I am trying to hopefully get to more of this book in the next few days. But this book is going to be a very long reading vlog. I mean, you guys are going to go through so much of my life. I feel like it's going to be like a month later and I'll be like, I'm finally done with this book. Anyway, that's my update for now. Not a great update, but I'm enjoying it so far. So we'll see. So I thought it would be good to give you guys a really quick update right now. It is now Sunday morning-ish still, something like that. I'm still reading this book. I've made some more progress. I'm now on page 364. So I'm almost at the halfway mark, guys. Almost there. Hopefully sometime soon. But things are finally starting to come together in the sense that the history was finally revealed, because the difference really is that some of the history, especially on the west side, the Innis Kingdom believe a certain way of events that happened like way back when, but then there's another order, essentially the priory of the orange tree, where they believe a different set of history, and they're all within the western realm of things. And I was kind of struggling to figure out like what was going on, like what was the history, like what differed between the two, because there were sprinkles of like hints here and there, but that history was finally just revealed, and now I'm just like, okay, things are starting to kind of come together now. I'm starting to understand the history a lot more. The east side though, things are also starting to happen as well, but not to that extent. But it's just very interesting right now. Like, there's definitely so much world building. Like, every page is just revealing like little bits by little bit of events that happened 1,000 years ago and what that could possibly mean for the present day, and it's really fascinating. I'm very curious. I feel like the one thing that I have to say is that I'm not really invested with any of the characters yet. There's no one character where I really want to know what happens, and that's probably why I'm still kind of struggling with my reading, because the book is a little bit slow in the world building, and the characters, I'm not really invested with any of them. And so because of those two factors, I just feel like I'm kind of struggling with this book. But I mean, I do like the dragon aspect. The dragon part is like the best part. Every time there's a dragon, I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? But everything else though, I don't know. Also, the female to female relationship, I think, is finally starting to reveal itself a little bit more. I feel like everything I've seen so far has just been like dabbles here and there, and there's like very subtle hints here and there. So we'll see. I mean, as of right now, I'm curious, but I'm just not really invested with the book in general. I don't know. I'm just struggling for sure, but it might just be because I'm not really in the mood for it. I was in the mood for it like a week ago, but I don't know. We'll see, guys. So I finally made some progress. I actually should have probably updated you guys last night, but I was really tired, and that, yeah, didn't really happen. So now it is Monday evening, and I'm still reading this book. I'm currently on page 418. So I have officially reached the halfway point at this point, so I'm enjoying it. Also, the female-female relationship has finally been actually revealed, and I'm also glad that I was right. So there's that. Also, I feel like the book is definitely getting a lot more interesting. I feel like at this point, I feel like I've been saying this a lot, but things are finally starting to get together, guys. But my favorite character so far is probably Eid. I feel like that's how you pronounce her name. But she has such a unique set of skills. Like, I like her background a lot. She's like a mage. She has some sort of magical abilities. She's trained in terms of fighting and like all that stuff. And I don't know, she definitely has a hidden background, which I really like, and I wish that's explored a little bit more. But as the book continues though, you definitely start to understand her and where she's coming from a bit more. It's just very slow. Like, everything is just little inch by inch, guys. My biggest issue with this book right now is the fact that everything moves at such a slow pace, even though things are happening, but because there's just so much stuff going on, I just feel like it just ends up being a little bit on the slow end. So originally I wasn't going to update you guys, but something just happened in this book and I thought I would give you guys a really quick update. I'm currently on page 467, so not much progress has been made since the last time I updated you guys, but something just happened, and I feel like this book is just so intricate. There's just so many layers to this world building, to what is going on, to the intricacies of the political, like the differences between the kingdoms, the cultures, the magic systems. There's just so many layers to this book, and the more I'm getting into it, the deeper I'm delving into it. And so I feel like it's kind of like an onion where like you peel a layer, but there's like another layer underneath it, and you just keep on peeling, and they're just continuously, you know, layer after layer. And that's just how I feel with this book right now. So I'm definitely getting into it. It's just a little bit slow still. I feel like my biggest issue right now is that I just don't have the time. I'm just not taking the time to just sit and read, and I feel like that's what I need to do with this book. So for this weekend, because it is currently Thursday, I'm going to try to just sit and just immerse myself in this book during this weekend, and see if hopefully I'll get more reading done that way. Because I feel like my biggest problem right now is that I've been reading it like snippets here and there, but once I get into it, I'm like, oh, this is so good. But then I'm like, I'm going to bed now, I'm really tired, etc. And then it takes me a lot of effort to go back into this book, because I'm also reading like 3 other books at the same time. So that's kind of an issue for me. I feel like that's like a personal issue. That's probably why I'm just not getting into this book as I would have if I'm just reading this book and just devoting my time to reading this book. But anyways, I'm not going to talk about any more in terms of this book anymore, because like in terms of the plot, because I don't want to spoil anything. And I feel like I'm giving you guys like tidbits here and there, but not enough to spoil anything. But at this point, I don't want to give you guys any more details in terms of what this book is entailing, because I don't want to spoil anything. And this is a giant book, guys. Like, I'm not even 500 pages in, and they're just, like I said, there's just so many like pieces to this world that is just being slowly revealed, and it's really good. And I do enjoy the way how she's doing it, but it's slow for me. But that's just my opinion, so whatever. Anyways, that's it for now, guys. So I finally want to give you guys an update in terms of where I'm at in terms of reading. So it is now Saturday. What day is it? March 23rd, and I feel like I want to just devote this weekend to reading this book because I'm currently on 579, like page 579 for this gigantic book, and I'm at the home stretch. I feel like I have less than 300 pages. Well, I cannot count. I have less than 300 pages left for this book, and everything is kind of coming together in terms of the characters. Like, they've gone on their journeys, they've done their thing, and now they're coming back together. Or some of them are like that. Other people are just finally realizing certain things. A lot of their clues, they finally understood it, they've grasped what is going on, and now I feel like the book is at its home final stretch in terms of what's going to happen with the draconic army, is that how you pronounce it, and the dragons and the worms and all that stuff. So very curious to see how this book will conclude, and yeah, we'll see. One thing I really like about this book is so far is the fact that there's so many strong female characters. So there's 2 females that the book follows, and there's 2 males, and one of the male, I forget what he is exactly, but he is part of like the Western Kingdom. He's some sort of like lord or some sort, like in the noble court, and there was an incident where he was with this female and they got ambushed or whatever, and he was just like, oh yeah, like if it was just me I would have been overwhelmed, but thankfully she was there and she subdued them and made them retreat. And I'm just like, that's right guys, female power right there. So I really like the fact that there's really strong female characters in this book. Really like that. But anyways, I will continue reading this book and we'll see how we'll see what happens. Guys, so much stuff was just revealed. Like, I'm on page, what is it, 600 something now, 629, and so much stuff was just revealed. Like, this huge thing was just revealed, and it explains so much in terms of what was going on with like the history, and just so much stuff was just revealed in the past like 3-4 pages that I am just shook, guys. Like, so shook in terms of what's going on. I feel like just something, there's just so much stuff happening all of a sudden. Like, before, like, it was a huge, like, very slow build up, but now everything is like crashing together. It's just like, all coming together, and it's just so good. Like, oh my god guys, like I need to continue reading this book. So guys, it is Wednesday morning, and I just want to check in really quickly because I just finished the book and I am so excited, and I have so much to say in terms of my thoughts about it. So I will do like a full recap when I get home from work tonight, hopefully not too late after the movies with my friend. But yeah, I just want to check in and let you guys know that I finished it. Wednesday morning guys, like it's been a long time coming. Hey guys, so I'm finally back home, and I wanted to take some time to talk about my thoughts about this book. And it's kind of late right now, so hopefully it's not too rambly, but the one thing I would say is that this book, like I said already many times, is that it's very slow. I would say that pretty much the entire like first half of the book is all world building. I mean, the author is introducing so many elements to this book, including just the different countries. I mean, the East versus the West, their cultural differences, their religious differences, as well as all the introduction of all the characters, because that was another thing that I was kind of struggling with, was just the fact that there were so many characters. I mean, and honestly, for me, a lot of the characters, like their names were a little bit similar, and so it took me some time to kind of grasp like who was who. But so the first half of this book is pretty much just world building, just so many elements coming into play, and you also learning about the dragons and the differences between the dragons, and then you also kind of see the differences between like the Eastern dragons versus the Western dragons, or like the draconic army and stuff like that. And so there's just so many aspects to this book that is being introduced, and so the first half of this book is really just an introduction. And also this book takes course over like a year, possibly more, but at least a year. And so that's why this book is just kind of big, because it literally chronicles like an entire year plus more at the end. So that being said, there needs to be a lot of world building. That's basically what it is. And then the next 200 so pages, I think, is when things are starting to come together, and you're starting to connect the dots between, okay, this thing that's happening in the East or like the West is connecting to what's happening on the other side of like, the world. And then finally, last 200 pages is when things like finally come together. And then there's at the really end, there's like a 50 pages where it's kind of just, you know, kind of like after everything has happened, and they just kind of talking about their life and like the afterwards, etc. It's kind of like an epilogue, but like a really long epilogue. So yes, that was super rambly. I feel like, oh my goodness, that was actually really rambly. But anyways, that's kind of how I felt about this book. I would say that I really like it. Like, once I got to like the second half of this book got so much better. And wait, let me show you my stats, because it's actually kind of interesting. So I put my stats next to me as usual. So this one I end up giving 4 stars, because honestly, one, it was a little bit confusing in the beginning and it was just really slow, but in retrospect I get that, but I still feel like it was just really slow. So anyways, It says right here 863 pages read. My total reading time was almost 12 hours. It was technically 11 hours and 49 minutes. Then my reading speed was 72 pages per hour, which it's a little bit slower than usual. It's almost like a page per minute, which is not terrible, I guess. And then the next two are ones I don't usually use, but because this book took over, or I took over like 3 weeks to finish this book, the second two actually play a role now. And one of them says most pages read in a day, and that was 150 pages. I mean, this weekend I pretty much went through almost 300 pages just because it got really good. And then the last like 100 pages was basically Monday and Tuesday, or like, and today, I guess. Yeah. So, and then it says over here, most minutes read in a day, 112 minutes. So as you can clearly tell, it's probably that 112 minutes is probably when I read, you know, the 150 pages. But anyway, so that was kind of my stats there. So yes, ultimately it was good, but it did take me quite some time to kind of fully grasp what was going on, just because there were just so many things about it. The one thing I did really find interesting was like the difference between the Eastern and the Western dragons. I would say that Eastern dragons are very like what you see typically, or what you think typically of like an Asian dragon. So they, you know, they're like the long, really slender, kind of looks like a snake, and they fly but without any wings. That's kind of what I imagine the Eastern dragons to look like, versus like the fire breathing dragons, which is like the Western dragons, I guess. And those are your typical ones where you see in fairy tales, where they're really big, they have a really big like body, and their wings are like gigantic. That's kind of the difference that I think of between the Eastern and the Western dragons, which I think is really interesting, by the way. But honestly though, I think the best part about this book is just how strong the females were. There are just so many strong female characters, their relationships, how much worth they had with everything, and the roles that they played to save the world essentially was just really well done, and I really liked that. I also really liked the like female-female relationship. It was very subtle in the beginning, but once it was like it became obvious and stuff, it was really strong, and you just tell how much they admired and respected and loved each other, which I just really respected as well. But anyways, that's all I really wanted to say in terms of this book, because like I said, this book is a journey, and it's a progress, you know, like there is times when it's slow, and then there's times when it becomes really interesting, and there's also times when there's confusing. But the thing is, end of the day, I think this book is really worth it. It just takes time. I feel like I said that many times already, but it just takes a lot of like patience, I guess, at least for me, in the beginning of the book. So anyways, that's all I really have to say about this book. Hopefully this video will help you guys in terms of like deciding whether you want to pick it up or not, because I do think the end result is worth it. It just takes time, guys. It's all about time. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. This has been a very long journey. It's been like 3 weeks, like more than 3 weeks essentially, and I'm finally done with this book, so now I can move on with the next book, because this book honestly has taken up so much of my free time to read, because it was a very big book, guys, a very chunky book. So anyways, let me know down below if you have read this book. If you did, let me know if you liked it or not. I'm kind of curious to see what other people thought about it as well, because so far I feel like everyone who has read it seemed to really enjoy it, and so I'm just really curious to see if anyone else had similar thoughts with me in terms of like my progress while reading this book. And if you haven't read this book, let me know if you want to read it, if you would be willing to. I mean, it is a big book, I think, but let me know down below. Let me know down below if watching this video has encouraged you to read it or not read it. I'm very curious about that. As always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!